You're listening to the Sensuality Project podcast, where the messiness of real life gets sexy, hosted by Stacey Herrera. This podcast is intended for mature audiences only. Episodes contain profane language and topics of a sexual nature that may not be suitable for children. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Welcome to another episode of the Sensuality Project podcast. I am your host, Stacey Herrera. Thank you for joining me once again for another week of amazing, expansive, delicious conversations. I love doing this. And I can't believe that it took me so long to get this started. Anyways, it's like that sometimes, the things that you are really good at or the things you enjoy are often the things that you resist the most. I know that that's been my experience. How about you? Anyways, this week, my guest is Alexis Petrin, and I enjoyed our chat so much. A couple of months ago, I was actually on her Facebook Live show, Beyond the Bullshit, where she asked 20 questions. It was fantastic. I had such a ball doing that. And so it was my great honor to invite her to have a chat with me. And it was expansive. We touched on some really great things. And she's got a really... how can I say this? Like, her perspective on things is just amazing. And you can tell from listening to her all the work that she's done and that she is all about walking her talk. And that's one of the things I enjoy the most about Alexis. So you're really, really, really going to love this episode so much. So make sure that you share with your friends. I hope that you're inviting your friends to listen to these chats, right? You're doing that, right? Of course you are. Of course you are. And if you feel so inclined, feel free to leave a review on iTunes or wherever you are subscribing to this podcast, because that's going to help more women get a chance to recognize that this show is thebomb.com. That's why. So do that. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking because I really want you to get into what Alexis and I talked about. You're going to love it. With foreplay. In a 6-word story, describe your worst kiss.
Oh, a 6-word story
of the worst kiss you can think of.
Oh, he leaned in too late.
Oh my God. What was Oh my goodness. Okay. What color best describes what your turn on feels like?
Oh, color. What color? Typically green.
Why?
There's something very earthy. I'm more of an elemental type earthy person. So there's something very grounded, very rooted, very primal for me in that color and that feeling and that essence.
That is beautiful. Okay, last foreplay. So I'm going to give you 3 descriptors and then you tell me what it is these things are describing. Okay, first one. The men in me should wear 2 rubbers. I can make you drip. When I fall out, I make a wet spot. What am I?
Oh, what are you?
Okay, I'm going to describe them again. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir, but yeah, do that one more time.
Okay. The men in me should wear 2 rubbers. I can make you drip. When I fall out, I make a wet spot.
This may be very lame, but I instantly think food. I instantly think a plate of the heaviest, most dense, richest Alfredo.
Oh, that's a great descriptor. But no. But I love that. Oh, and I love Alfredo so much.
Food is foreplay
It
for
is.
me.
Okay, the answer
Yes.
is rain.
Alfredo, pasta Alfredo, that's close.
But that's a great segue. Okay, you say food for you is foreplay. Tell me more about that. And what does that look like? Describe like an experience.
For me, it's a whole experience. Well, for me, it's always sexual. It's always sexual. Everything's sexual. Everything's sensual. But there's something about being in the kitchen, for me personally, barefoot, moving around, dancing a bit, taking out ingredients, smelling, tasting, feeling them, and then you begin to put them all together. And it's as this mystery. You don't really know what's going to happen when you start to mix all of these parts, what it will really become, what it will taste like, what it will be like, what it will feel like. So to me, that really opens up the mystery of what it is that's about to happen when we begin to really dance with life.
That's amazing. I have the same experience in the kitchen. I love everything about being in the kitchen. And like you, I feel like everything is sensual. And I think the only thing that prevents us ever from having a sensual experience is the same thing that keeps us from having spiritual experiences, which basically sensuality and spirituality, as far as I'm concerned, are the same thing. It's being present. If we can stay in the room, we can have sensual, spiritual experiences in everything that we do. And it's when we check out, I think that we rob ourselves of having, a 4 or 5 dimensional experience.
I'm so with you on that. Even to take it a little bit out on there as well. I'm totally with you. For me as well, and what I notice with a lot of others is we're also afraid to lose ourselves. Like if we're that present, where are we going to go? Like this Alexis, what's going to happen to her? Will she even be there? And this being in control thing seems to be just so overrated that we need to be in control of ourselves and control of our faculties, So losing ourselves is seen as this like lesser than uncivilized way of moving through the world.
Yes, that is all the things. That's all the things. I think that losing, and I know that is often a challenge for me, is losing myself. I'm good about losing myself in the moment if I am the only one in the moment. It's you know what I mean? It's when I'm being witnessed that I am the most afraid of like really letting myself go.
Oh, to be that naked,
yes.
To be emotional, yes.
Okay, I am much more comfortable being physically naked. In fact, I'm physically naked right now. I'm always naked. I'm much more comfortable being physically naked than emotionally naked. Have you struggled with that, with emotional nudity? Like, I love that emotional.
Yes. Emotional nudity, yes. Absolutely. I think that's really common as well. Yeah, for me, I never wanted to show anyone who I really was. I never wanted to lose this image of what I had projected and constructed that Alexis is, what she could be associated with. So people could understand me and identify me. So to be emotionally naked was absolutely horrifying in my experience. I was definitely under the hypnotizing idea that if I lost myself, I wouldn't be okay. If I let my guard down and stepped into this place of ultimate vulnerability, then I would just open myself up from having my innocence robbed, like has been done in the past, and not understanding what that force of true vulnerability can actually do.
How did you begin to even move out of the space of being afraid of it and actually leaning into it?
For me, I don't think it was a choice. To be honest, it was, and when I say that, I mean a conscious decision. There wasn't a conscious effort or epiphany of, I think that I'm going to try this being vulnerable now and open emotionally, and that'll be where my focus is. It was kind of something that I was brought into, absolutely something that I was brought into, and it was more for survival because I was very isolated and alone. and it was struggling immensely. Actually, take that step further, suffering immensely when I was coming out of a 20-year alcohol and drug addiction. So for me, it was a survival to get emotionally naked, to expose myself, to be raw, to be vulnerable, because I needed others.
Wow, that's so expansive. Now, do you equate the addiction where was it a numbing out of not feeling those things?
To be that it is, yeah, it was a part numbing of really feeling, of really being here, of really acknowledging and living in this physical body that I have access to, that I'm most certainly in, that we are in. So I think a combination of that and this desperation to try to connect, but did not have the tools with how to connect in a way that was healthy and nourishing and encouraging and brought about vitality.
I think a lot of people, I know I have, I've numbed out, and I had addictive behaviors that didn't necessarily play out as, drug or alcohol addiction, but I know that I have been addicted to wounding myself with people. Choosing the same people so that I could keep getting the high of disappointment that I was familiar with. And it was very, I was so good about mind fucking myself around, it took me over 40 years to realize that that's what I was doing. I should add that I'm only 43. So you can see that my recovery hasn't started much farther back in time. It wasn't that long ago. But I found that a lot of, now that we live in this space of constant stimulation, I found that people are not recognizing the other things that they're using, the other things that they're addicted to, being plugged in all the time, not being able to not check your phone, for 30 minutes. It's so compulsory. And I think that it feels like that we are constantly walking the line of addiction, but it seems that society is only willing to address, addictions that have substances tied to them. And I'm worried that because we're ignoring all the various forms that addictions come in, that because we're ignoring them, and because the ones that seem to be the most prevalent, and again, I'm not taking away from substance abuse, but I mean, the ones that seem to be creating the most toxic experience right now in our world are the ones that most of us are participating in. Like the being plugged in all the time and not being present. How often it doesn't take but 5 minutes to be in a restaurant to see people ignoring one another. You know what I mean? It's it's a thing.
It's normal.
Yeah.
This is what has been completely normalized. I am completely with you. I used to fight for, addiction is only, I was in that place in my healing journey of addiction is only alcohol addiction or drug addiction or, one of these too. And nobody else can talk about it. And now I'm like, oh, whoa.
Yeah, I
the more we step back. Yeah, the more we step back and really start to look at what's going on, there's this constant perpetuation of neglect. It's just so normalized and it's silent.
Yes.
And it's sneaky and it's subtle. And even when we think we're, with the social media example that you're giving, or the internet, even when we think we're taking these actions to connect, it's is it personal? Are we showing up with all of us? And is the intent, is the true desire to connect with another human being? Or are we attempting to connect to something else or some other purpose? Because I find that it's largely impersonal. A lot of things we do are largely impersonal, and we're just neglecting the care of ourselves. We're neglecting the care of others. And this is very much the status quo. This is what's promoted.
Yeah, it's really, it's really frightening. And I have such a timid relationship with social and like I'm willing to be vulnerable on the internet. I'm not willing to be intimate. So I'm really protective of what I share in terms of like my personal life. Like I'm happy to post and talk about vaginas, including my own in great detail, in fact. But I'm not
Mhm.
share like intimate details of like any current romance that I'm having. I don't disclose, I don't talk about like my personal relationships in an intimate way. And it's because I really feel like those are the things that I need to be having. Those are the experiences that I need to be having in real time where I can use more than one sense at a time. And I also feel like it's my duty to the people that I am in interpersonal relationships with. I feel like it's my duty to them to keep some of our relationships sacred simply because they did not agree to do this work that I'm doing. So, you know what I mean? So if that's not
Yes.
their job, then how is it that I am, it's not up to me to overexpose them. So as a rule, when I write about something or someone, I never write in present tense. And I try my best not to give any markers that allow you to really place when that person came in my life or when they left, so that it's very generic almost, but detailed at the same time. It's a thing. Like, but it's because intimacy is so important to me. Emotional intimacy is so important to me. And I see,
I'm with you.
online, I see so often, I see people crying out for one. I see the pain very clearly, but it's almost like there are no emotional coping or management skills. And so people are really just kind of vomiting their life online, the highlight reels anyway. And it just makes me cringe because some of the people, the ones I know personally, I know the disarray often of what their offline life looks like and how their relationships are playing out. But then you see them online, like really kind of vomiting their emotions just to be seen, I guess. For a hit, actually, if I'm honest, like that's what it is. It's like for a hit, that's what it feels like.
Yes, I used to do that all the time. I just met you. I'll tell you everything about me. Okay, pretty much for validation and approval, and look at my wounds and share my wounds with me and what wounds do we connect over and what are you healing and what am I healing? And it's this false sense of intimacy.
Yes. Or sometimes I would do it to see how quickly I could push you away. Like, let me give it to you right now. So then if you're going to kick rocks, you can do it quickly.
Yeah. I like to call that energetic chess. That's what I call it. It's something that I used to do, lead with power. I would lead into every interaction, into the initiation of every relationship or encounter with, I need to have one up on this person. Like I had such a need for safety. Like I was not comfortable once I got myself into a situation with making a choice at that moment. So I had to lead and position myself.
Yeah. I think that we're preaching to a really, really large, loud choir. You know? So what do you think? What do you think creates emotional intimacy? Like, what is that even? Like, what are the ingredients? Look, since we're like food, like what are the ingredients for like creating, an emotional intimacy soup with somebody?
Oh, for me, and I know we hear this all of the time, for me, I had to get intimate with myself first. I had to go there simultaneously with, yes. It doesn't mean that we can't be in relationship. I think people hear that in an odd way. Like we say that, but it hits the ear as I can't be in relationship while becoming more intimate with myself. Like they're mutually exclusive. But for me, they weren't really. It was this, and continues to be as I deepen into myself, I deepen with others. Sometimes I deepen with another human being, with my man first, and then it brings me into a new layer or depth within myself. or pushes me further in. So I think it's this constant dance of committing to honor the all of me, every thought, like everything, every thought, every feeling, every action, every behavior, every desire, everything. I'm a big fan of I satiate everything that arises for me. There is no turning away.
I love that. And I love that you embrace the deliciousness of messy. Because, it's so often we've decided that we want the neat version, we want it neat. We don't want it dirty, but life is, like life is dirty. Like food tastes so much better when you eat it with your fucking hands.
Ah, yeah.
It tastes different than when you're using, like when you separate yourself from the food with a fork, it tastes different. Even a bowl of soup tastes different when you eat it with a spoon than when you just sip it right out the bowl,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that
as a middleman, like a utensil in and of itself is a middleman.
Absolutely. And we do that with our emotions. We put these, these middlemen or, in between ourselves and our feelings. So we most certainly do it between ourselves and other people. But I love that you embrace all of the feelings and not just the ones that feel good. Some of the, and because there is pleasure to be experienced in the stuff that doesn't feel good. It just doesn't happen when you're experiencing it. It's usually on the other side of it.
Yes. Yes. We have this whole idea that if I can create order, then I can understand my experience and I can control it and manipulate it. But that's not really what we're wanting to do. Right? It's like, oh, that's where safety is. But it's like, no, that's not where the safety is. The only safety really is, like, for me, and this is so hard to come to terms with, I'm so stubborn. I like things organized, like, believe it or not. Nobody ever believes that when they meet me. But, like, organized and, like, in line. And, but for me, I found, like, fuck, like, the safety really is in the risking. Isn't the risking at all. It's like taking that chance, just unzipping your suit and stepping out and feeling, getting right up close to that tree, like feeling the bark, tasting it, smelling it, wrapping your arms around the trunk of that tree and then seeing what happens.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Look, that's a great place for us to have a little intercourse. Like,
so, yes.
Tell me what techniques do you use to stay in the room in the middle of sex? Like to stay in your body? Like, is there something that you do? Is there something that you stop doing in order for you to like really be able to stay in your body when you're making love, so that you can be present for the whole of the experience?
I don't anymore. It's a very natural now. But I can remember from before, I would just pay attention to when my mind was wandering, to when it was going somewhere else or thinking about what I have to do tomorrow, or, if my ass looks okay, or like what he's thinking about, when he's grabbing a certain part of my hips or, anything like that. And another thing that was huge for me to really stay in the room, and sometimes I just play around with now, less to stay in the room because it's fucking fun. Mm-hmm. And brings a little bit of like levity into the whole experience. It's not, so serious all the time, as we will dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Like, actually dialogue. When we're really dialoguing with somebody sitting across from them drinking coffee, or how we are right now, like we're really present. We're in there. We're paying attention. We want to hear or have an experience with what the other person is telling us they're experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Lights off or lights on?
Both.
Good answer.
It depends.
Good answer. Good answer. Do you think that, how do you feel about hair? Like, how do you feel about body hair?
I love hair.
Me too. Me too.
I love hair. I like to stay a little bit like trimmed up.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's my personal preference, like, you know, like touching myself or feeling myself, or running my own fingers over my body. That's my preference for me. But I like a little hair. I like a little hair on my lover, definitely on the chest. He trims it. It's okay. We talked about it. His preference is trim, so I'll make peace with that.
Well, I love that. I love that you talked about dialogue and you talked about like talking about trimming, because I think that communication in terms of relationships with ourselves and with other people, but I think that that might be largely where we keep missing the mark. Like, you know, in the bedroom, out of the bedroom, you know, in our homes, in public, on the internet, like, is that I don't know if it's that we haven't had effective communication modeled. I know I didn't have effective communication modeled. Like connecting with another person intimately, I found that self-consciousness is the fucking buzzkill of intimacy. And how do you navigate self-consciousness in intimate relationships, romantic and otherwise?
Oh, I just go for it. I go for it. It's a risk. It's a risk. And I value intimacy and connection. I say know your values. Know your core values. Know what you really need. Get honest about what you really need to experience. When do you feel fulfilled? And for me, the truth was, I value connection. I value intimacy. Those are honestly two of my highest values. So my actions have to be in alignment with that, or I feel very unsatisfied. And I'm neglecting myself. So when I stay in alignment with those two, and I recommend everyone to do that. And people are like, how are my values going to affect my sex life? How is it going to improve the quality of my relationship? And it's like, because then you're more apt to risk whatever it is to stay true to your values.
Absolutely. And I love that you said your values, and that, you know, I think that again, in relationships, particularly romantic relationships, it's so easy. And I will say for women, because I am one, but like it's so easy to make the other person responsible for enforcing their own values.
Oh,
you know, like it's your
yeah.
job. It's your job to make sure I'm fulfilled. It's your job to make sure that our relationship contains intimacy. It's your job to make me feel, you know, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's you. And that's a conversation I didn't want to have out in the open. You know, we don't have that conversation. Like, oh, let me take my suit off and tell you what's really going on inside. Because you could let me down. You could not step up, you know?
Yeah. Or you could be dismissive. You could be dismissive and just tell me I'm too fucking sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Which is,
or you could meet all of my requests.
Yes. And then what the fuck will I complain about?
Shit. That could happen.
Yeah, like, oh my goodness, you could give me all of the things? And then what will I do with all the space that I filled up with the bullshit?
Mm-hmm. That happens to me.
Oh, share.
Yeah. I met someone that was able to step up with me, that was able to step onto the dance floor with me. I met someone that was available emotionally. You know, we've done quite a bit of stumbling and all of that, because it seems as though we've both reached the end of our knowledge, our lived experience database. So we're both winging it now. You know, but somebody that was really ready to do that. And it's slightly terrifying, and I guess brought up some old wounds of, oh shit, they're meeting me. That means I can't fall back on all my old excuses and old behaviors. And once I vocalize, which I've done a million times, which this is a big deal, but once you vocalize and get intimate and share the deepest layers of truth that you can access at any moment, the moment you make your request, you don't get to run and hide anymore. I don't get to run and hide anymore. Even if it's uncomfortable, I have to keep showing up because they're meeting me. And my go-to before was, oh, I'm telling you what I need. You're not meeting the needs, so fuck you, and I'm just going to be on my way. But when that's not there and that's not available anymore and that behavior gets taken off the table, it's a whole different dance to still be there when there's conflict present, when you're uncomfortable.
I am dancing the line in that realm. And and like you, for so long, I was so, I'm an amazing emotionally unavailable man picker. Like I can pick it better than watermelon. You hear me? Like I am stellar, exceptional. I can pick him out of a crowd very, very quickly. But because that was my default, and it was my default because it was what I knew, and that was my addiction. And it wasn't until, I literally had to sit in a 3-day withdrawal because I didn't know what that was until I felt this longing one day. And I couldn't put my finger on it. It was like, and it would come when the day got quiet, like, after work was over. And like, I remember sitting in the center of my bed and like feeling this physical tug that I couldn't put words to. And it wasn't until like day number 2 that I realized the reason I had never felt it before is because when it would rise up, I would make a phone call and somebody to fill it right quick. Until I needed it again. And after not doing anything about it for several days, I was like, oh my God. Cause I used to always ask people about like, what does it feel like when you just have to have a cigarette? Cause I couldn't understand it because I hadn't felt that before, but I hadn't given language to my own addiction. So the need to be with somebody that was emotionally unavailable was really about me. I wanted to find somebody that could disappoint me in a way that I'm familiar with. Like, please disappoint me just right so I can show you how amazing I am. But then to be with somebody that shows up and is saying, you're fucking amazing, unprompted. Mm-hmm. Or somebody that, when you're like, this is what I need. And they're like, or this is the way that did this thing. And I felt this thing in response to this thing that you did. And for the person to say, thank you so much for sharing, because I don't want to do that to you. And I'm going to fix it. And it's like, what? What do you mean? Mm. Why aren't you saying the script goes like this? That's not my fucking problem. Like, yeah. Like you're deviating from the script. And so but then you have to then create a new version of yourself. And that shit is unnerving. It feels like wearing your skin inside out. Mm-hmm. Like the sensation of it is, look, I don't have language for it. It's hard.
It is. It's like walking into a 1,000-foot skyscraper and all the lights are out and you're plucked in the middle of a building and it's okay, like, and you're blindfolded as well. Now find your way out. Mm-hmm. You have to feel. You have to listen. You don't get to use all of those tools that we used to use to find our way through or to make things happen. We have to discover and explore and unearth and uncover new things, new ways of relating and navigating. Yeah, scary.
It is. It is. It's very scary. Long Story Short is an advice column for achy, breaky hearts, curious libidos, and desperately seeking humans of the female persuasion. If you're looking for straight from the hip advice because emotion loves to settle in the hips, you're in the right place. Long Story Short provides real-world advice for women like you. Why? Because sometimes you need a little perspective about the shit that's going on in your life. Submit your long story short to bit.ly/long story short advice. You know what? I think that this is a great place. I'm currently reading The Unbearable Lightness of Being. Have you read that?
I haven't. No.
I can't believe it's taken me this long. Mila Kundera, I think is the Milan Kundera, I think is the name of the author. And I know it was a movie, but one of the things that I just read this morning, and I wrote it down because I wanted to run it by you, was one of the characters says, when we ignore the body, we're more easily victimized by it. So my question to you is how does living in your body and using, the faculties that came as part of the package, all your senses, how does that help you navigate your emotional terrain, especially when you are in the space of where you don't have a reference point?
Mm-hmm. For me, it's all about engaging and dialoguing with myself through feeling. Because the body knows. That's the thing. There's this whole body love movement, right? And it's amazing. It's really focused on imagery, and the exterior. And there's some other things that are really amazing that are going on there. But the body has its own notes. It remembers. It has stored information. It is the most exquisite piece of technology, ever, in my opinion.
Like millions of years of millennia of information stored in every single cell. Like, I always make a joke, like, it's the reason that your vagina doesn't grow hair to your feet. It knows how long to go. You're never going to change your eyebrows because they're never going to get to your chin, because your body knows when to stop doing something.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It is the connection. It's actually the connection that we're seeking. Like, make contact with yourself.
Oh, yes. That's so huge. And that's so hard. Why do you think it's so challenging? Because obviously we are born with the connection. Babies are so good about touching themselves. They love to discover their hands and feet. You remove a diaper, the first thing they do is touch their genital because they know there's oh my God, there's air there, there's sensation. They go wherever there's a feeling, right? But then we unlearn that. We unlearn it. And then we get to these spaces. And I think we all arrive to the place where we are being forced to make contact. But then oftentimes when we're in that space, that might be the beginning of when we start to numb out. Why do you think we do that?
I think we begin to numb out, or the tendency is to numb out because we invoke. If we really want to talk about, people want to talk about sexual energy, Shakti, Kundalini, life force. Really, when we begin to unlock and unleash that, we send this surge throughout our entire body. We feel so fucking powerful. We don't know what to do. We can't contain ourselves. And that has a bunch of different labels, So instead of fully leaning in and embracing all of that and seeing what we can do with all of that energy, instead of channeling it into intentionally creating something that we care about, whoa, I don't know what's going on here. So we turn to it's like a pressure cooker. We want to take the lid off. And it's the only way we know to take the lid off or to sell some of that energy is to pick something up or to create some sense of avoidance or distraction. And that's what we're going to do. But as far as how do we come into that? How do we begin to dissociate and neglect our own body, our own life force, our own innate inherent wisdom, the gold mine within us? I would feel really responsible to speak to our socialization. I think that's really important. Because when I really dove headfirst into my healing journey, I thought it was all individual until I reached this point where I realized that society, my family dynamic, and my culture, and what I've been socialized into actually plays a very big part. It is influencing me. So to become aware of how I'm being influenced, either overtly or covertly, very important. Continue to move about our own journey, or it has been for me. So fucking important to see all those dynamics from the micro to the macro.
Yeah, I think that's so super relevant, especially today at the time when we're recording this. It's fucking nuts right now. So I think like that. We're watching probably an extreme case of what the socialization can create if we don't show the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's scary because it becomes, again, like you said, it's easy to look at, any one area or your whole life and individualize it. It's very easy. In fact, we spend, especially here in America, we spend so much time individualizing ourselves, right? that like we create this division but then in the numbing out, the collective numbing, something new can be born that can be really ugly. Because it's not like it goes dormant. It doesn't stop being unified just because we individualize, right? Like, there's,
yes.
It doesn't stop that. It's just that we cut off, it's almost like we shut the light off when we individualize to this point, and then darkness. And while beautiful things grow in the dark, ugly things grow in the dark too. Everything grows in the dark.
Very true.
Well,
it's in our culture here as well. It's kind of woven to the fabric that, in my opinion, we have this distorted view of what it means to become an individual. I'm a nerd. Let's just put that on the table right here. So I'm a little bit of a nerd. Like, one of my favorite people of all time was Buckminster Fuller. And I really dove into one of the things that he spent a lot of time talking about and illuminating, which was the parts affect the whole and the whole affects the parts. And to truly individuate means to become whole.
That's
to become
powerful.
Whole. Yeah, so to be a full, in my interpretation, it's to become a full expression of the whole, where all is considered, all is validated. Maybe all is not kept, consented to, but all is met. All is considered. All has a value, an influence, a weight.
I love that. Oh, and it's interesting. Now, do you perceive weight as positive or weight as negative, or neither, or both?
I guess it would depend on the context.
Look, I only ask
body weight.
That's a concept that they talk about in The Unbearable Lightness of Being, which is a great book, by the way. Great book. But
I'm a fan of weight.
Me too.
I'm a fan of depth and weight. Weight to me signifies broad. You talked about in the beginning, more multidimensional experience. You have a broader perspective, a broader range of experiences available to you. You have depth, you have weight because you have depth. And so it's people that can connect in 2 minutes with another individual. That's what they have. That's that unique special quality. That's why they can make you feel. It's because they have such a broad range of feeling.
I love those people. Yeah. You're one of those people.
Yes.
You are.
You too.
And I think every conversation that you have is like that. Look, I venture to say you probably struggle with small talk.
I do. I have a little bit of fun with it. I'll tell you the truth. We downloaded the Bravo app the other night and watched, a couple episodes of Real Housewives of New York. So let's keep it real. Like, I can really go in any direction. I like to have a full experience. So I can do the small talk thing, just not as a predominant way of living, not as a predominant way of engaging and relating, not as a predominant way of nourishing my own being. That only does so much. That fulfills a need of levity, I guess. That's about it.
Look, there's that lightness, right? Like that it does. It does. I can do it if the actual experience is as transient as the conversation. If we're in the grocery store or something. And I know, and I'm next, and I only have one thing,
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, bye. I can do it. I can do small talk if it's in that. But if it's a long ass line, and the person in front of me bought the store, and I'm standing next to you, I can't do it because if it's more than a few minutes, unconsciously, I'm going to ask something, or I'm going to see an expression in your response, or, you know, it's anything that will trigger me to ask a deeper question.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be real transient in order for me to keep it super light. And my intention is never to make it like heavy. But if I see any little thing, like, you know, if I ask you how you're doing and you say fine, and then your face does a thing, my next question is, tell me how you're really feeling. Like, cause I see something. What was that? What was that thing that I just that you're not telling me the truth about how you're feeling, and why are you holding it, and it's okay to share, you know? You know,
Yeah.
So my intention is never to be intrusive, but I think that I really want to see. I really want to see people, and I want people to have the experience of being witnessed. And I think that that's the thing that we're all missing. And I think that that's the reason that people are vomiting on the internet, is because they feel fucking invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And invisible is lonely, you know, which is not the same as being alone. Like invisible is fucking lonely.
It is.
And the only thing scarier than that is fucking being seen. Like, the paradox is crazy, because it never, like, the dance never ends. Like, see me, but no, like, okay, here I am. No, just kidding. You know what I mean? It's like this constant, like, see me, please don't see me. Oh my God, you saw me. I'm scared. Like, do you not like me now that you saw me? Or I wish that you could see me. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing this thing all the time.
Yes. And it's just deeper. The deeper you go, it's still there.
Yes.
It still exists. Oh.
Yes. I mean, and you know, like when we are intimate with someone, like in a real, you know, up close and personal relationship, we just dance it slower, but we still dance it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
well,
maybe
it doesn't seem to be a normal thing thus far in our society, where everyone shows up and tells the truth. You know? We're all screaming, we want truth, but when somebody shares their truth with you, I mean, like, I had to ask myself this. Like, I say that I want truth, and truth is one of my highest values. But when I have another human being that I'm in a relationship with that I value, who's telling me the truth, can I sit there and listen and receive it without having to defend myself or respond immediately? Can I just be there with them? And, you know, I started to watch that for a while. And at first I couldn't. I wanted to say something or to have a retort, or, you know, to build some kind of case or make myself relevant by trying to relate my experience when that was not appropriate in the slightest way, shape, or form. So it's an interesting dynamic to really watch and hone in on, or it has been for me.
I feel the same. Fact, just last night, I was having a conversation with someone close to me when she said to me, I was so angry with you, and it took me a long time to be angry with you. And I was like, oh. And then she was, and I said, you have a right to feel that way. Like, it's okay for you to feel that way about me, you know. And I was surprised at my reaction. I was surprised at my reaction because I didn't posture, you know, like try to, you know, state my case about why your anger shouldn't be happening, or why you shouldn't be feeling like that, or why you need to hurry up and stop feeling that. Instead, I was just like, you have a right to feel that way. And I understand. And, it was fucking uncomfortable. I mean, I felt all of the nerves in my body turn on. You know, I felt my blood pressure rise. I felt the hairs on my forehead start to, you know, stand up, because it definitely was visceral, because no one wants to hear, I was angry with you. And and then for the follow up to be, it took me a long time to get angry, which means that you thought about being angry, but then just didn't have access to it yet. You know what I mean? You know, like I had this physical reaction, but it took me a really long time. And some days I'm not great, but it took me a long time to get to the space of recognizing that just because I have a physical response does not mean I have to act on it.
Mm.
And again, some days I am stellar and other days I am shit. That concept. But it's very difficult to sit in the, it's hard to sit when someone's complimenting you. But it's equally hard to sit when when you interpret what someone's saying as an assassination or an attack on your character.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because both of
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Which, this is a great segue into my next question for you. How do you feel about silence? I struggle with silence. Like even just the pause after the statement just now, I get a little thing where I want to fill it up. Let me put something right there. Which makes the mute feature very handy, by the way. But go on.
I love the space between. I had this round of older male mentors that came into my life quite a few years ago. And it was interesting. They didn't really know each other or have a relationship with one another, but they were all presenting the same invitation, which we would talk, and then we would just sit on a park bench for hours. And the pauses in between were so long. And we just stared. And they would say nothing. And I would say nothing. And sometimes we burst out into a fit of giggles. But for me, that's where all the feeling is.
That's amazing.
It's not silent in there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's loud.
I can do it if I am, like yesterday, I went on a walk with my sister. And giant chunks of the walk, and this was like a 75-minute walk or something, but giant chunks of the walk were silent. And my sister's she's like a stellar silent person. She can do it really, really good. I'm not so much. So like there were long stretches where we didn't talk, and that was okay. And I didn't feel any discomfort. But I think that part of it was that I was moving. You know what I mean? Like moving silence feels different than sitting silence for me.
Well, I think there's this myth that silence means emptying out.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like silence is making myself available to the more of what's happening.
Oh, I felt that like all in my chest cavity. That's true. Like,
yeah,
like my body.
Yes.
Said, yes, that's true. Oh, yeah. Look, I received that. I received that, and I feel like that changed me just now.
Ooh.
Yeah, like like I could feel that. Oh yeah. And I am.
Yeah, there's an intensity there. Yeah. So we run from it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Oh, that was good. That was good. That was like orgasmic. Right? Like I could feel like this space and then this warmth in my chest. I'm like, oh shit, like that's real. That's true. That was yummy.
Well, it also does this interesting thing where it moves us beyond logic, and then we feel weird because we cannot explain our experience in words or translate our experience in words, and that's our predominant way of communicating. So you take that away, and it's for like, what do I do now? I can't communicate the experience that I'm having. This is way beyond words. This is a feeling, like, and it's a whole different ball game. So for me, it's kind of like the same as, and this was huge for me. Actually, this may address some of your questions you asked before as well. This is a great way to start opening up intimately. A mentor of mine years back, once again, pointed out that I would only look someone in the eye for a few seconds, and then I always looked away. So he invited me to lock eyes with every person I came in contact with. and not look away.
So powerful.
Yeah. And that just seems very simple, but it's everything. Once we lock eyes, it dissolves all barriers. You really start to see. It's actually something that we do for like really long periods of time. Like I've never done that with anyone before. It's amazing.
And that's also a really great way to stay in the room during sex. Is it so fucking intense and powerful? You can keep your eyes on the person you're with. So expansive.
Ooh.
You know, it's interesting though, and you're right. Like you definitely, eye contact eliminates the barrier. And I have found for myself, I remember, you know, maybe a couple of years ago, like going for a walk and recognizing that every single time a person was walking toward me that I would look down, and then like having this dialogue in my head that was like, you know, Stacey, why are you avoiding eye contact, and what part do you not want them to see? Because it was so blatant, like that it was like unnerving. Like, why do I keep doing that? And then it was like, what are you trying to hide? You know, that some stranger that you're not even talking to, you know, that, you know, like that. But it was so apparent to me because for blocks, I kept doing it. And I was like, what am I trying to not let someone else see? What am I hiding? And being able to it was like a battle. Like by the time I got where I was going, it like 2 blocks before I arrived, it's when I finally was to stop doing it. But it was like, and this was probably like a 10-block walk. So it took me 8 blocks to stop doing it. Because there was a part of me that was trying really desperately to shrink. Oh, but it's again, allowing ourselves to be witnessed. The thing that we yearn for the most is the thing that scares the bejesus out of us. And
witnessing too. I definitely share your experience, and as well what am I trying to look away from? That was like for me personally, that was the bigger narrative that was going on for me was what am I trying not to see? Like what am I trying to look away from? And that was really interesting to make myself available for that conversation, for that experience. Such a habit of turning away. You know, that really was just the outward manifestation of what was happening inside is, oh, it's uncomfortable. Oh, I can connect. Oh, there's something here. I'm going to turn away, avoid, ignore, deny, neglect.
It's that dance.
Yeah.
Wow. You're so amazing.
Thank you.
Like I can imagine how the people in your life have to step up in order to be in a relationship with you.
It's intense. I'll say that. It is intense. And they require me to step up as well. And the appreciation is, I don't have words for the relationships that either I've been gifted or blessed with or created or whatever we want to call it, that are present. It's something that I just didn't even dream of or didn't wish of or didn't know existed. So it's very cool to be experiencing something that I did not previously know existed.
Well, I think that you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
Well, let's have a little aftercare. This is great. So, in keeping with the theme of intimacy here, how do you like to care for yourself after self-pleasure? You know, like after making love with someone else, it's like, you know, like I like to be cuddled or whatever, but like how do you take care of you after you pleasure yourself?
I have to be real. I have to be real. I'm like, what is she talking about? After. What? Is after? For me, it's I give myself whatever I need all day, every day. Truly, it's always, and that's that seems like it could become very self-indulgent and self-centered and selfish. But for me, I've found that being truly selfish, meaning caring for my life force and meeting my own needs in every single moment, is the highest form of service that I've found thus far. It's a constant. Because I need something, I ask for it.
I think that is so phenomenal. And I love that there is not even a hint of apology in your tone about that. Because I think that that's really important, especially, and I'm not saying that men don't struggle with self-care or self-love or taking care of themselves. I don't think they struggle in the way that we do, though, because there's this guilt that, again, our collective has decided that women should be in service to everyone else except for herself.
Yeah.
So I love that you are unapologetic about your commitment to you.
So do I.
Look, and this, my friend, is what self-love is supposed to look like. Like, this is what it's supposed to look like. Because self-love is the new black, right? Next to, and, right next to the fancy shade of body love, because like you said, I love the movement, but there is, a lot of times it seems very surface. And there's no depth to the, like, okay, it's great that you like looking at your body or you can accept what it looks like in the mirror, but are you living in it? This is the one home that you get, the only true domicile for your duration of your life here in this form. And most of us don't ever move all the way the fuck in. And
this is our tax.
Yep.
Yep. This is our tax. Like, that we need to make it so we can access our tax.
Yep. It's amazing. And I don't know that it's all of the things that we keep trying to recreate virtually, and we won't even you know what I mean?
You just stole my heart. Yes.
We got it already. Like, while we're trying to create like 3D goggles and shit. What do you mean? Why do you need to create that instead of being fucking in the 3D goggle container, right? Like, you literally poured your soul into this amazing piece of technology, like you called it. And now you want to recreate the thing that you live in because you're afraid to live in it. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
I know. I can't. Hold on. I'm a little speechless because this is a predominant conversation that we're having over here in my realm. This exact conversation. and you're bringing it now. Oh, thank you.
It's like so true. I mean, I feel fortunate to live in this body, and I love the body that I picked and all its fleshiness. I love all of the things about it right now. And people will think this is gross. Right now, I'm so fascinated with the smell of my armpits because I have really mild smells in my body. And so I never really, and of course I wore antiperspirant for years and I stopped. And even once I stopped, I still didn't really have any smell in my armpits. But now I am almost 44 and my body is doing different things. And I'm so fascinated because I don't know if I have ever smelled my armpits before now. So I'm constantly like, oh my God. I was just yesterday, I said, oh my goodness, my armpits smell way different than when I perspire regularly than after I exercise. So like I had just like moved and I was like, oh my goodness, my armpits smell so different. And I'm like walking around my house, like, smell it. It's so like, I'm like, smell it. It smells so different. And everyone in my house, they are so accommodating of my quirks, but they're like, I don't want to smell your armpit. I'm like, it's fascinating. It smells so different than when I'm just like, going about my regular day and there's like mild perspiration as opposed to when I am choosing to physically engage. It's a different smell. It's like my armpits smell different after I've sweated during sex as opposed to maybe taking a walk. It's amazing.
Yes. It's so primal. It's so to celebrate in that way, to truly celebrate in that way. It's so simple.
Exactly. How could you not be impressed? I'm so fucking impressed on a daily basis. I'm like, this is impressive. You know, like I break a nail and 2 days later, the shit is back. I'm like, this is impressive. Like, how could you not be impressed? Right? Like, you know, okay, here's another thing that I think is amazing. How many times have you ever seen a short eyelash? Do they just fucking come out the right length? I've never seen a short eyelash before. That I'm like, I know that I lose them, so I know they come out and they must regenerate, but how come I never seen a fucking short one? I've never seen a short eyelash ever. That's amazing. I'm not saying short eyelashes don't exist. I'm saying that I've never seen one on my face. It's amazing. Like, how could you not be impressed by living in a human body?
Well, I am completely with you. Yes.
Yeah, so much gratitude. I feel so grateful. I feel so grateful that there are other women who feel like I feel. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I feel so grateful that you are doing such an amazing job of normalizing the messiness of life, and that you are standing fully in your power and also standing fully in your vulnerability and fully in your humanness without trying to make it pretty all the time. That you're giving so many people permission to be regular, right? Because we're fighting against that, right? Like, but you're giving so many people permission to just be themselves and all of what comes with that. The good, the bad. I hate to use bad because I don't really think that there's anything bad. Even the shitty parts are really good. Shit, it makes grass look amazing.
Yes.
You know?
Excruciating, maybe.
Exactly. But you know, you can grow grass without fertilizer, but it doesn't look the same. Mm-hmm. So the shittiness is important. Mm-hmm. So I thank you so much for modeling so amazingly what that looked like, and for really owning selfishness. I feel like that should be a t-shirt. Like, I own the shit out of my fucking selfishness. Like, you know, that's not like a bad thing. Like, you know, I just thought of that nursery rhyme. Like, if you're selfish and you know it, raise your hand or clap your hands. Because I think that we got to be okay with it, because, you know, like taking exceptional care of yourself doesn't take away from your ability to care for others.
Exactly.
Look, I just love you, sister. You're amazing.
I love you. Thank you. Thank you for seeing me.
Thank you for showing up.
Smiling.
Yeah. Thank you for showing all the way up. And yeah, you're all the things. The Sensuality Project is produced, edited, and hosted by me. Music by bensound.com. The Sensuality Project podcast is a production of StaceyHerrera.com.